Hey there, comic friends. I'm Travis. It's time for another No Cape, where I talk about books that don't have to do with superheroes, and Ethan either doesn't read them or doesn't review them along with me. Boy, I could have done that smoother, couldn't I have? Anyway, first up, I'm going to talk about Comeback number 2. This is by Image Comics. I really love these covers. The covers are pretty cool. Art on the inside, yeah, a little dicey, but is serviceable for the story that's in it. Yeah, kind of a cool, interesting story. It has to do with time travel. It has to do with there's a couple characters who work for a secret agency that goes back in time and snatches up loved ones and supposedly saves them from horrific accidents or bad decisions that they would have made that got them killed in some sense or another. They get hired for millions and millions of dollars by usually the person they're kidnapping or saving by their relatives. What's complicated this story is there's a group of FBI agents that are hunting this this agency down because they're not legally sanctioned anything. I mean, time travel. I mean, most people don't even believe it exists. And what's happened is these two guys, one of them has kind of fallen apart emotionally and psychologically. They have jumped and saved a woman who got herself very, very drunk and drove into a telephone pole or SUV. They have saved her. And why they have jumped, they've got a place they go back to that's a vault that they get into. It's got their time machine that zaps them back to the appropriate. It has been found out and acquired by this agency, this group of FBI agents who are now seized it, are tearing it apart, and trying to find anyone that's involved with it. So they've been given a secret message to the computer telling them that they're not, through emails, that they're not to go back to their original place and that they're supposed to go on the lam and go into hiding and trust no one until they're recontacted by them with a new place for them to port themselves back to their current timeline. Also complicating this is the partner who is emotionally falling apart has just been visited by himself from another time. And the self from another time is in really bad shape, coughing up blood and having all kinds of issues that we're not sure exactly why he's having those issues. And that guy has implied that basically they're killing everybody, is what he says. Anyone who can't keep their mouth shut, can't accept what's happened, they kill and say, oops, it just didn't work. And he says they're killing agents too. So we've got this double complication of you got this time-jumping secret agency that's making millions off of doing this time jump to save or kidnap or however you want to call it, people from their past, saving them from their accidents. And you got FBI agents that have discovered this and are going after the people who are doing that, and you've got this rogue agent. And some time anomalies are starting to happen. And it's pretty interesting. Like I said, this is issue 2. I think it's 5 issues. I can't remember for sure. Somewhat interesting if you can find them. It might be worth picking up. Like I said, it's not a riveting story, but I like it. It's kind of interesting. Art is serviceable. Okay, next up I'm going to talk about BPRD, Hell on Earth. And this is issue 102. And this is the Return of the Master. This is part 5 of 5. This is the last of this arc. That is an awesome cover there. Yeah, the bad guys are winning. They've reconstituted the Master. The Master is in the body of a flesh of a cloned flesh bag, basically, this meat body with no personality that they were hoping to work on to put Jonathan into it. I can't remember Jonathan's last name. He's the German scientist who's actually a ghost. He's like a pile of vapors, and he rides around. He has an environmental suit that he walks around in that he fills up. He was hoping to get a new body. Instead, some old Germans used it to reconstitute the Master, who was this extremely powerful entity during World War One, and was also Rasputin, I believe, reconstituted him, and he is this. Well, he looks like this dude basically, except black flames. Meanwhile, across the world, there are these dead zones where things have wrecked from all the hell on earth stuff that's already happened. There were these monsters or giant living flesh things that hadn't moved. They were just sitting there. Nobody knew what they were. Suddenly they've started moving. Basically, my best description for it, if you took like a sea cucumber or a sea slug and put it on the land and made it about as big as a mountain, and then gave it some Call of Cthulhu type bits on it. These things are now slithering across the country, across all different parts of the world, and they're basically pooping out these giant eggs. They're like the size of 2 or 3 houses put together. So nobody knows what's hatching there. All the paranormal stuff is just going through the roof. There's rifts, tears in the Earth's crust and whatnot. Basically, the end of the world is coming. And you know what? I'm not so sure that they really aren't going to end man's life on Earth. It certainly permanently alters the way that man's going to function on Earth. Most people are considering this really the ends of time. They really consider that the bad guys really have won. Even people in the BPRD themselves are losing it because they think it really is the end. Some of them are fighting on. Our one glimmer of hope is at the very end of this. They find Elizabeth. She is the pyromancer that burnt up all, before I started reading BPRD, burnt up all the people underground, the frogs, the frogmen that were going to try and take over the world and kind of screwed up the Master's plans originally. She has been found. She's not in good shape, but she's in a ambulance being hauled off somewhere in Utah, but she hasn't been seen for like a number of years, basically, ever since she destroyed all the frogmen and kind of fractured the earth when she did that. Her coup de grace on them kind of screwed the earth up initially and set the events in place to put Hellboy in hell, where if you read the Hellboy in hell, he is at now. I like this arc. This was actually a pretty cool arc. It's pretty dramatic. It ends on it ends the arc, but it ends on this huge thing with the world basically coming apart, and communications are drastically reduced. Most people can't talk to each other across the world, and everything disastrous is happening and whatnot. And these giant creatures are laying eggs and stuff, and I'm just at a loss as to how they think they're going to fix all this. But very, very cool. Lastly, for this time, I'm going to talk about another BPRD book. This is BPRD 1948, so it's set in 1948. This is back when Hellboy, of course, is about 4 years old. Continues with a storyline that basically, when these atom bombs were being blasted off, it tore a rift in reality, and something from another dimension spilled over into this one. Potentially something is stalking one of the doctors that's part of this whole experiment and whatnot. There's also Hellboy is getting ready to meet the president. Him and his handler are getting all dressed up fancy-like to go and meet the president. That could be cool if they actually write that in here. Ander is a character who is kind of like a support person to the BPRD. He's a military guy. He's assigned to a unit. He's really losing it. He has seen some horrific stuff in his past. He can't really cope with that, and so he tends to be pretty violent. He beats up a whole bunch of other military guys while they're on R&R. So he's being sent away. I'm not sure exactly how that plot line's going to work into this yet. This is kind of interesting. I'm thinking that this would all fit better for me if I had read the 1946 and the 1947 one, but still pretty cool. The art is awesome in it, and yeah, if you like kind of supernatural Call of Cthulhu-ish type things, if you ever played the role-playing Call of Cthulhu type game, this just all fits right into that sort of thing really well, and it's pretty cool as far as that goes. Well, that is it for this time for No Capes. I'll see you in a few days when I've got a few more books that don't have to do superheroes read, and I talk about them. Have a good one.